One more thing. Dirk Nowitzki finally sounds off about the Nico Harrison firing, says it should have happened earlier. The fans got robbed, and the trade made absolutely no sense. Reading our minds. We'll talk about it more on Locked On Mavs. One more thing.
I'm not a doctor, so.
That's it. It's me versus the machine.
I don't know.
Satnam change.
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
Hot man, the hot player.
Wait. One more thing.
Fired up.
Yeah, welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years. Thanks for being every day, making Locked On Mavs your first listen and listening every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If you win, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to take advantage of it now. We're going to talk about Dirk Nowitzki's comments on Prime, on Amazon, on the pregame show, because I thought it was wild to hear Dirk Nowitzki's real, unfiltered thoughts about the trade, about Nico Harrison, about all this stuff. And so I'm going to go through some of these things that I saw and read. And so if you haven't listened to the clip, it's like 2 minutes. I'm not going to play it here, but you can go and listen to it. And there's just so many different things that I'm going to go to. But the first one is that Dirk Nowitzki said, well, there's just too many distractions, too much going on to keep going this way, meaning keeping Nico Harrison. He said, this move should have probably happened this summer, honestly. I didn't want this negative energy and this black cloud over the Cooper Flagg era, but here we are now. The fact that Dirk Nowitzki said it should have happened earlier, you hear of all these different players that are coming out right now, Draymond Green, Charles Barkley, I think even Patrick Beverley, he's got his own problems going on, but all kinds of different players, Austin Rivers, that were like, Nico is a scapegoat. Nico was the one that everybody just wanted to blame Nico for the Luka trade, and he didn't even get to see his vision get played out because Kyrie and AD only played one half together, that Houston half, the magical one. Like, this is more about so many other things to do with the trade, to do with what they got back from the trade. Trading Luka was one thing, but the fact that you only got Anthony Davis, who is 6 years older than Luka Doncic and not as good of a player and more injury prone than Luka Doncic, you got that back, and you let go of a player that was the bridge from the Dirk era to the next era. We rehash this all the time, but the fact that we keep having to, Dirk saying it probably should have happened over the summer, yeah, because it was that bad. Because it was that bad of a deal. And for Dirk to come out and say that and to say, yeah, it probably should have happened over the summer. He didn't even think that they should have given him a chance to see this season out. It wasn't about what was happening or what could happen with this team going forward. It was already done for Dirk. Dirk already looked at it and said, yeah, that trade was bad enough. And moving on from Luka was such a slap in the face and such a spit in the face of the fans that it didn't matter what the Mavs did with this team right now. And I think a lot of fans, I think a lot of you have talked to me. I've talked to so many Mavs fans about this. And there's so many of you that say, even if they win a title, it won't even matter that much to me because of this. I'll probably still celebrate it, maybe whatever. Maybe I'll buy one championship thing. But it won't be the same as when Dirk won his title in 2011. Luka was on that path to make it in 2022 before anybody thought that they were, to get beat by that Warriors team really bad, and then to miss the postseason again, and then to make the NBA Finals, then get beat really bad by the Celtics. And then the rest of his hero journey was supposed to be able to play out. It was supposed to play out with him figuring out a way to level up, like Dirk did, figuring out a way to get his best basketball and his best foot forward, and to then go and win that championship for the Dallas Mavericks fans, and to get a statue out there right where Dirk's is. That was supposed to be the rest of this thing, and Dirk says it later in this whole quote. So skipping ahead, it was very sad to see how it ended, and felt like the fans, they got robbed of actually seeing the end, seeing this through, seeing Luka develop into hopefully a champion one day. It kind of doesn't matter if Anthony Davis came and if he was better than Luka, and if Nico knew something, Luka's injuries were so bad that all of a sudden it was going to be such an issue that he couldn't have even gone forward and couldn't even have had a good career. The example we talked about a bunch after the trade happened was, all right, if he's Joel Embiid or if he's Andrew Luck, where Andrew Luck went through so many injuries that he's screw it, I don't want to play anymore, and quit at 29 or something like that. If that's what would happen to Luka, then it could make sense. But now we're seeing this version of Luka where he's scoring 40 points a game, doing what Luka does, and yeah, there's the ups and downs of playing, but man, to move on from that, to move on from the guy that was the bridge between the Dirk era and this next era, the guy that had already got you to an NBA Finals, was just such a slap in the face to every fan. Dirk says, Dirk says, they got robbed of actually seeing the end of this journey. And that, to me, is one of the things that people haven't talked about as much. It's like, Mavericks fans, you listening, going through Dirk's saga and seeing him go through what he did in 2006 or at the beginning of his career when he didn't know if he was good enough for the NBA. Like, he said that multiple times. Like, I didn't know if I was good enough my rookie year to play in this league. Then he levels up to become an all-star. Then they make the Western Conference Finals one year, and then they lose. And then they make the NBA Finals in 2006, and then they lose to the Heat in a really tough fashion that was maybe a little bit rigged. And then in 2007, they're the best team in the NBA, 67 wins, only done like once before that, right? Or 2 times before that. And then they lose in the first round, like in a terrible, awful fashion. And Dirk then gets to redeem himself by coming back, like finding this like veteran-laden team in 2011 and making this hero's run that was absolutely incredible and cannot be matched in any way. But Luka was like on that very same path. We saw the ups and downs. We saw the drawbacks of his game. Sure, there were drawbacks to Dirk's game too. Oh, he's a soft Euro. Oh, a shooting big will never make it in the NBA. You got to be able to play down in the post. Oh, you got to be able to defend the rim. Oh, you got to play tough defense. You got to rebound. Like, there's so many things that were said about Dirk, and a lot of the drawbacks about Luka were kind of in the same vein. Oh, he's too ISO heavy. Oh, he's gonna be, he's got to play defense. Oh, he's got all those things that were said about Luka. He still could win at the highest level. Man, you got me going on this trade again. But it was a slap in the face to the fans to not let them see out that moment. I think that's a very important point that Dirk made, that fans deserve to see the end of that and to see how it went because they had been so invested. And for Nico to come in and be like, yeah, you know what? That part doesn't matter. The whole human part of it doesn't matter. I'm smarter than everybody. And Dumont signing off on it too. Like, for Dumont to not even maybe realize that whole journey that the fans had gone through and that Luka had gone through, because he just joined in when they went to the NBA Finals. So he only saw that mountaintop moment where they failed and saying, oh, well, we failed. Maybe this Nico guy is right. Maybe I should listen to him, and maybe we should move on, and maybe we should try a different approach. He missed the entire hero's journey to begin this, and fans got robbed of that. And I think that's an incredible thing, that it was just a wild thing. Dirk said one more thing that I want to talk about in this one more thing about the trade. And this whole thing, to me, I'm just so fascinated that we got to hear Dirk's unfiltered comments like this. We'll talk about that more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. They've got a deal right now that you can go check out. It's the bag drop, where right now if a player drops 50 or more in an NBA game, you can go and get 50% off your next order with DoorDash using the Dash Pass on the next day. You're automatically entered for a chance to win this ultimate fan bag, the bag drop. They have all kinds of stuff in it. It's player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, stuff that you're actually going to want. And you can get it with DoorDash. And, I mean, you're doing DoorDash. Like, so many of you are doing DoorDash. You might as well get the Dash Pass. You might as well take advantage of that deal. And then, watching the NBA, if guys go off for 50, Jokic just did it the other day, had 55, you can take advantage of the bag drop. So go check it out. Next time somebody goes off for 50, use this promo code. It's NBA50, the letters NBA, and then the numbers 50. The next day, you get 50% off your DoorDash order with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off, up to $10 the next day. After 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 and older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. And check it out. You can do a happiness hedge right now because the Mavs are losing games. Bet against the Mavericks, because if they lose, then all of a sudden you can take advantage of the deals that they have. So go check it out. See what they got. All kinds of things happening all the time. Oh, Dallas Cowboys against the Raiders. They're 3.5-point favorites going to Las Vegas. So that one is an interesting one. If you're a new customer, you put down $5. If you win, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app on anything. So you can use it on that Cowboys thing. There's also there's a Stars one on here. Stars, their next game against the Flyers. They're a 1.5-point favorite at home. So that one's an interesting one. So you go check it out. You can see they're almost done setting up the ice right now behind me. Go check it out on FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. And one more thing, it's a bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. You missed the post game with me and Slightly. We talked all about the Mavs loss to the Clippers and talked a lot about like existential Mavericks things, where we talked about the state of the team. Should they be tanking? Should they not? All that kind of stuff. So go listen to the bonus show. Isaac also did one more thing yesterday, where he talked all about the new GM and what the Mavericks should do. He's got a theory about Jason Kidd that you're going to want to hear, so go listen to that one. Dirk Nowitzki made this statement on Prime about how the Luka trade and just the whole Nico Harrison firing was just, and that it should have happened earlier. He said it should have happened earlier, all that. He said, I just knew. I figured this fan base is a passionate and loyal fan base. I was lucky enough to experience it for 21 years, and I knew they weren't going to get over it. As people say or forget about, they're extremely passionate. This is the part that I think is interesting. And this trade just made no sense. It made no sense to the fans, and really, there was no explanation for it either. You go to the NBA Finals the year before. You give up all these assets to build, really, the team around Luka with some 6'9" wings that can switch and guard. You had 2 lob threats with Gafford and Lively. The team was built around him. You added Klay. The shooting was kind of a bit of an issue in the finals against Boston. So you did all this. Going into the Christmas Day game, they were 14-3 out of the last 17 games. So they're just starting to hit their stride. And then Luka gets hurt. Unfortunately, that's the last game he ever played in a Dallas Mavericks uniform. And that's when he says it was sad. The fans got robbed, all that. Dirk Nowitzki saying this trade made absolutely no sense is incredible to me. Like, that is just fuel to Dallas Mavericks fans. Hey, we're not going to get gaslit by anybody saying, hey, you know what, actually the trade, you should think about Nico Harrison's side of this. Or you should think about what the Mavericks were doing with this trade. No, didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense at all for this trade in any way, shape, or form. And for Dirk to come out and say that, I think is just so validating to Mavericks fans. If you're somebody that's like, I have been firm on this trade. I have been staunch that it was a terrible deal. But every once in a while, you start hearing some people, and if you hear enough people say, you know what, I could see Nico Harrison's side. If you hear enough people, like contrarians or whoever, you start to doubt yourself. This is a reason for you to not doubt yourself about this. It was that bad. Don't be gaslit into thinking that this was a good trade or that this was a trade that even made sense at all and that there was really no explanation for it. We're starting to see it right now because Anthony Davis came into this season out of shape. That has been a thing that's happened a couple times with the Lakers apparently. And he's now dealing with a calf injury. He has dealt with 3 different injuries since he's joined the Mavericks. He's played, like, what was a stat that was posted the other day where what was the stat that was posted of him? And it was him versus Lamar Odom, like, of all people. And Lamar had his own issues and whatever, but Lamar Odom played, like, Lamar Odom is known as one of the biggest, like, mistakes and biggest failures of Dallas Mavericks history to bring him in, and he had his own off-the-court issues that he was dealing with that were not necessarily injuries, that were mental and other kinds of things. He played 50 games for the Mavericks. He played 50 games, over 1,000 minutes, and scored 300 points, which is not a lot, but Anthony Davis has played 14 games for the Mavericks so far. 415 minutes, scored 280 points, and, like, to compare those two, Anthony Davis has now dealt with an adductor injury that he was dealing with when the Mavericks traded for him. So he's dealt with, like, a waist, like, midsection issue. He's dealt with an eye, the retina injury that kept him out for the whole offseason, and from people that I've talked to said he couldn't work out at all. It's still hard for me to believe. I'd have to talk to an eye doctor, but it's really hard for me to believe he couldn't work out at all during the offseason, which is why he came into camp out of shape. Then he said at camp he's going to play himself into shape, and now he's dealing with this. What is he even out with right now? Like, remind myself what he's even out with. He's dealt with all kinds of different injuries already, and that's just the state of what you deal with Anthony Davis. And so it made no sense for the Mavericks to make that trade for him, for Nico Harrison to specifically, like, target Anthony Davis, to not put the trade out there and all that. I've said many times this is the last time going over this trade. It probably won't be. I'm not going to lie to you. It just keeps coming up. More things keep coming up. And for Dirk to say his comments, I think it was worth talking through and going through it, just validating all Mavs fans' feelings about this trade and validating, hey, like, the guy that's – if anybody was going to know something with Luka, it would be Dirk, right? Wouldn't Dirk have known something? Maybe he wouldn't share that on TV, but maybe he would have defended the trade in some way. Like, hey, you know what? It didn't seem to make a lot of sense to people, but there are some things behind the scenes. Like, maybe he's not going to talk bad about Luka, probably, and maybe that's the only way. But is Dirk just, like, lying to us? I don't think so. I think Dirk's the most truthful person in the world. No, I'm just kidding. There you go. There's Dirk's comments. I thought it was interesting. Thought it was worth going through. Guys, thanks so much for listening to this show. Go listen to all the other shows with Locked On Mavs. We're doing extra stuff all the time because this is the time that you Mavs fans are getting in on it. Guys, go check out links in the description for different ways to follow the show, the text line, and all that. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out.